Education is undergoing a quiet revolution. In the past, school was largely about memorization, repetition, and practice. Students learned to follow instructions, complete assignments, and pass standardized tests. The focus was on getting the right answer and doing it quickly and consistently. But the world has changed. Today, with tools like ChatGPT and countless educational resources online, answers are everywhere. The most valuable skill is no longer knowing the answer, but knowing how to evaluate it. This shift is transforming how learning is defined. It's no longer enough to know how to solve a problem. Learners must now know how to assess solutions, think critically, and adapt to unfamiliar challenges. This is a fundamental redefinition of what it means to be educated. Instead of rewarding rote memorization and drilled practice, the modern world values creativity, problem-solving, and the ability to approach complex situations from multiple angles. The challenge is no longer about remembering facts. It's about developing the ability to think independently and creatively. Consider a simple riddle. Using 6 matchsticks, create 4 equilateral triangles. At first, most people try arranging the sticks in 2 dimensions and quickly run out of options, but the solution lies in changing perspective, thinking in 3 dimensions. A tetrahedron built from the 6 sticks forms 4 equal triangles. This problem isn't about mathematics or geometry as much as it is about mindset. It rewards those who break free from conventional thinking. This kind of thinking is at the heart of the educational evolution taking place. Across classrooms and learning platforms, students are encouraged not just to absorb information, but to explore, challenge, and question. The aim is to build mental flexibility, the capacity to approach unfamiliar problems with confidence and creativity. However, many systems of education still lag behind. Traditional school math, for example, often emphasizes memorization and repetitive practice. The goal is typically to reinforce learned techniques through repeated exposure. This mindset extends to competitive mathematics, where success is often tied to recognizing familiar problem types and applying memorized strategies. Preparation becomes a matter of grinding through endless practice problems, a process that can drain the joy from learning and diminish students' creative instincts. Over time, a massive industry has grown around this model: test prep, cram courses, and tutoring services that focus on drilling patterns rather than cultivating deeper understanding. The result? Students may become faster at solving routine problems, but many lose confidence when faced with something new or unexpected. Innovation takes a back seat to memorization. Curiosity gives way to performance anxiety. Yet it doesn't have to be this way. Education can be reimagined to prioritize discovery over repetition, originality over familiarity. The goal should be to help learners become adaptable thinkers, individuals who don't just know what to think, but know how to think. That means presenting students with novel challenges, encouraging them to ask questions, and helping them build the tools they need to find their own solutions. The future of learning lies in cultivating minds that are not only knowledgeable, but agile, minds that are curious, reflective, and willing to look at the world from new angles. And in that future, the most important skill is not getting the right answer. It's learning how to figure it out when no answer is given. In many educational environments, success is associated with certainty. Knowing the answer, responding quickly, and getting things right are often seen as the highest indicators of intelligence. Students are trained to avoid mistakes, to find the correct method, and to stay within the boundaries of what's been taught. This system rewards familiarity and penalizes experimentation. However, genuine learning often occurs in the moments of uncertainty, in the struggle to make sense of something new, in the pause before understanding arrives. Discomfort is not a sign of failure, but a signal of growth. When learners venture beyond the edge of what they know, they begin to develop true understanding. Modern education systems, particularly in mathematics, frequently discourage this discomfort. Students are often encouraged to follow established procedures and avoid incorrect answers at all costs. This approach cultivates risk-averse behavior, where learners hesitate to explore unfamiliar ideas or question standard methods. Over time, they may internalize the belief that being good at a subject means never being wrong. Yet, in most real-world problems, ambiguity is the norm. Professionals regularly encounter situations with incomplete information, conflicting priorities, and no clear path forward. In these moments, success depends not on memorized knowledge, but on the ability to think critically, evaluate options, and adapt. Those who have been trained to sit comfortably with uncertainty are better equipped to handle such complexity. Studies in cognitive science and educational psychology support this shift. Learners who engage in productive struggle, where challenges are appropriately difficult and require effortful thinking, develop stronger conceptual understanding and longer-lasting retention. This type of learning is not linear. It often involves setbacks, dead ends, and confusion, but these are essential parts of the process. One of the most valuable outcomes of this kind of learning is the development of intellectual humility. When students recognize that they don't have all the answers, they become more open to new ideas, more willing to ask questions, and more resilient in the face of challenges. This mindset fosters curiosity and collaboration, qualities that are crucial in both academic and professional settings. Unfortunately, the traditional grading system rarely rewards this process. Fast, correct answers are praised, while thoughtful mistakes or unconventional approaches are often overlooked. As a result, many students become disengaged or anxious, fearing that any deviation from the expected path will be penalized. This stifles creativity and undermines confidence. To address this, educators are exploring new ways to structure learning environments. These include open-ended problems, project-based learning, peer collaboration, and formative assessments that prioritize growth over performance. The goal is to create a space where students can take intellectual risks without fear, a space where exploration is not only allowed, but encouraged. This approach does not lower standards. On the contrary, it raises them by demanding deeper engagement and more flexible thinking. It shifts the focus from performing for a grade to genuinely understanding a concept. And it helps learners build the skills they will need to navigate a world where clear answers are increasingly rare and thoughtful judgment is essential. In the end, education is not just about acquiring information. It is about learning how to learn. And that means learning to sit with uncertainty, to embrace complexity, and to remain curious even in the absence of clarity. In many professional and academic environments, the pursuit of knowledge can unintentionally become a performance. Individuals accumulate books, attend lectures, and complete certifications, all while appearing intellectually engaged. However, these activities do not always translate into genuine understanding or meaningful growth. This phenomenon, sometimes referred to as intellectual avoidance, occurs when the act of learning becomes a substitute for action. People may surround themselves with information, yet avoid applying it in any tangible way. The illusion of progress becomes a comfort zone, a place where effort feels productive even when it results in little real-world impact. One reason for this is the widespread belief that more information automatically leads to better outcomes. In reality, excessive information can create paralysis. Faced with too many options or conflicting viewpoints, individuals often hesitate to commit to a decision. The fear of making mistakes or choosing the wrong path discourages experimentation and fosters a preference for perpetual preparation. This mindset is particularly common among those who value self-improvement. They may develop detailed plans, consume large volumes of content, and analyze every possibility, all while delaying the hard work of implementation. The desire to be fully prepared before taking action becomes a barrier to action itself. As a result, potential is left unrealized, and confidence remains dependent on external validation rather than experience. Moreover, modern digital culture reinforces this cycle. The abundance of online courses, productivity tools, and motivational content creates the impression that learning is endless and that mastery is always just one more resource away. While these tools can be valuable, they can also distract from the core challenge, doing the work. Watching a video about discipline, for example, is not the same as practicing discipline. This pattern can also be found in organizations. Teams may hold frequent strategy meetings, conduct extensive research, or produce detailed reports, all without taking decisive steps. These behaviors create a facade of diligence but often mask a reluctance to engage with risk or uncertainty. In the long run, this delays innovation and reduces the organization's ability to respond to real challenges. Breaking this cycle requires a shift in mindset. Rather than seeking certainty before acting, individuals and institutions benefit more from iterative progress, small actions followed by reflection and adjustment. This approach emphasizes feedback over perfection and momentum over planning. Learning in this context becomes a tool for refining action, not avoiding it. Successful individuals and teams often embrace this principle. They begin before they feel fully ready, using mistakes as data and refining their approach through experience. They prioritize doing over theorizing, knowing that clarity often emerges through the process rather than before it. This does not mean acting recklessly, but rather acknowledging that some knowledge can only be gained through engagement. Educational and leadership models that support this mindset emphasize practice, accountability, and real-world application. They encourage learners to build, test, and revise, to treat their ideas as hypotheses rather than finished products. This promotes adaptability and resilience, both of which are critical in environments of rapid change. Ultimately, progress is not measured by how much one knows, but by how that knowledge is used. Information without implementation remains dormant. Action, especially imperfect, uncertain action, is the catalyst for real growth. Inaction often carries costs that are not immediately visible. While the risks of acting too soon are easy to identify, failure, embarrassment, wasted effort, the consequences of prolonged hesitation tend to accumulate silently. Over time, they erode opportunity, confidence, and potential. Hesitation can stem from a variety of sources: fear of failure, perfectionism, lack of clarity, or an over-reliance on planning. Regardless of the cause, the result is often the same: stagnation disguised as preparation. People may believe they are being prudent by waiting for the right moment or gathering more information, but the reality is that most growth happens through engagement, not contemplation. Opportunities rarely remain static. A job opening, a market trend, a personal connection, all have windows that eventually close. When individuals hesitate, they may miss these windows, not because they were unqualified or incapable, but because they failed to act in time. The chance to gain momentum, test ideas, or stand out can pass silently, leaving behind regret and self-doubt. This delay also affects internal development. Confidence is not something that can be built passively. It emerges through experience, by doing difficult things, navigating challenges, and learning from real outcomes. Those who hesitate too long often remain uncertain of their abilities, no matter how much they study or prepare. The absence of experience becomes a barrier to self-trust. The longer hesitation persists, the more it reinforces itself. A cycle forms. Uncertainty leads to delay, which leads to missed outcomes, which leads to greater fear of trying. This cycle often becomes self-reinforcing, especially when accompanied by narratives such as "I'm not ready yet," or "Unzenti, need to learn more first." While these thoughts may feel responsible, they often mask avoidance. Organizations can also suffer from this pattern. In competitive environments, delay can mean losing market share, missing innovation cycles, or falling behind more agile competitors. Bureaucracy, overanalysis, or risk aversion can create cultures where decisions are postponed indefinitely. Even when the information is available and the need is clear, hesitation can stall progress and sap morale. To counteract this, decision-making models often emphasize speed over certainty. Rapid prototyping, small-scale testing, and feedback loops allow for action with controlled risk. These approaches prioritize learning through doing, accepting that not all decisions will be perfect, but that most can be adjusted with new information. In personal development, the same principle applies. Forward movement does not require full certainty, only enough clarity to take the next step. Instead of waiting for the perfect conditions, individuals benefit more from defining small, low-risk actions and executing them consistently. The process of acting often clarifies the path in ways that planning alone cannot. Examples across various fields demonstrate this truth: entrepreneurs who iterate on products, athletes who refine their form through competition, artists who grow through performance, all rely on momentum rather than perfection. Their success is not rooted in avoiding mistakes, but in learning from them faster than others. Ultimately, hesitation is not a neutral act. It comes with opportunity costs that compound over time. Recognizing this cost is the first step in reclaiming agency. When individuals understand that delay is not safety but slow decline, they are more likely to embrace action as the engine of growth and progress. Progress in any domain, personal, professional, or creative, requires action. While analysis, education, and planning have their place, they are not substitutes for execution. Action is the point where ideas are tested, skills are refined, and growth becomes measurable. Modern culture often emphasizes consumption over creation. Information is abundant and easily accessible, making it tempting to equate knowledge with achievement. But learning without application quickly turns into inertia. The gap between knowing and doing is where potential is most often lost. Effective action is not necessarily dramatic. It can be incremental, repetitive, and unglamorous. Writing a paragraph, making a phone call, solving a small problem. Each step builds momentum. Over time, small, consistent actions compound, shaping habits, identity, and results. This principle is reinforced by disciplines such as cognitive behavioral therapy, which shows that behavior change often precedes mindset change. Taking action, even when uncertain, can shift beliefs and reduce fear more effectively than introspection alone. Similarly, in business, agile methodologies prioritize iterative execution over perfect planning. In both cases, action provides feedback loops that refine future behavior. Resistance to action frequently comes in the form of rationalization. Thoughts such as, I need more time, and it's not the right moment, or not ready, are common. These thoughts are rarely factual assessments. More often, they serve as psychological defenses against discomfort. Recognizing them as such is crucial. Most successful people act before they feel fully prepared. They rely on systems, discipline, and adaptability, not complete confidence. Moreover, action has a clarifying effect. Problems that seemed abstract while planning often reveal their true shape only when confronted directly. Many solutions emerge not from thinking harder, but from engaging with the work. In this way, action reduces complexity and transforms uncertainty into insight. Action also signals seriousness to oneself and others. It separates intention from commitment. A person who takes initiative gains credibility both internally and externally. In careers, it often leads to leadership opportunities, innovation, and trust. In relationships, it builds respect and emotional connection. In learning, it reinforces understanding and retention. While not every action leads to immediate success, inaction almost never does. Failure, when accompanied by reflection, becomes instruction. Repeated attempts refine strategy and build resilience. Momentum, once established, lowers the psychological cost of future action and creates a positive cycle of engagement and achievement. In summary, action is the mechanism through which growth occurs. It transforms abstract goals into tangible outcomes, tests assumptions, and generates learning. By consistently choosing to move forward, even in small ways, individuals and organizations position themselves for meaningful progress. The antidote to overthinking, fear, and stagnation is not more information, it is purposeful action.